Hi. I understand what this looks like. I promise it's a totally normal thing for me to do on a Monday afternoon. Anywho, so it's Sumo Week, and also by Sumo Week I mean Sumo 2 weeks. And so I decided, in my infinite wisdom, that there wasn't enough English-based content about how attractive sumo wrestlers are. So I decided to fill that gap in the discourse. Uh, going top down on the Banzuke. So this first guy, he's Hakuho. He's basically the Michael Jordan of sumo, and he retired pretty much right as I was getting into sumo. I would say I've been into sumo for about a year, little more, and so I've developed about a year's worth of opinions on sumo wrestlers, and I wanted to share it with the sumo internet community. Because I've never seen anybody talk about this about sumo. But I fangirl about these guys and I love them. So we're going to do top down to Megashira 7 because if I went any further than that, this video would never end. So yeah, top of the Banzuke, though not fighting this week, is Fuji. I have, as you can see, all the stats for all the fighters, so you get a basic idea of what they're like. So I'm kind of going to balance between if you know sumo, you'll get what I'm saying, and also if you don't know sumo, you'll get what I'm saying. All right. So he's the Yokozuna, which is the top rank, right? He's the only Yokozuna right now. And he's very big, and his fighting style is he takes his arms, he puts them underneath people, and he just like grabs them. And so he's very daddy, he's very calm. He has a lot of people in his stable who look up to him, and it's always really cute whenever they get a nice shot of like another Fuji liking him. His knees suck though. His knees suck. That's why he's out right now. He had surgery on both of his knees, and he fucked them up somehow. I don't know how, but he's not in this in the this tournament. I gave him an 8 out of 10 just because being the absolute best fighter is a very big buff to being hot. That's just like how it is. Like if you're the best, then you're hot. All right, our only Ozeki, Takakeisho. Now Takakeisho is small. He's only 5'9". And because of this, he works really, really, really hard. He has kind of short limbs, so he struggles to grab the belt, but he's really determined. He hits really, really hard. People call him Battle Hamster. My boyfriend and I call him the Bullet because he just like will like hit the crap out of people. And since he's so compact, he'll like really shunt people off of him, and it's really fun to watch. I give him a 7 out of 10. I don't love him because sometimes he slaps people in the face so hard that it like makes my soul leave my body a little bit. But it's also really amazing how hard he can slap somebody with like his like he just like puts his whole body into it, which is great. But so we call that the Takakeisho slap. He slaps the shit out of certain sumo wrestlers more than others. He wants to be Yokozuna. He's kind of gunning for Yokozuna this tournament, which is really exciting. I kind of want it for him. He's the best Japanese sumo wrestler, as you saw on the last slide. Fuji is Mongolian, and so he's actually Japanese. So there's a lot of like nationalism behind him, and he is the best Japanese sumo wrestler, which is I think very cute, and he does hold that role very well, and he really views himself as somebody who can be that guy. So he gets a 7 out of 10. I think he's slightly less hot than Fuji. It's not just because he's shorter. It's just like his attitude. He's just a little bit too tightly wound. So it's like, and but he's cute, and he's only 26, so he's got a lot of longevity in him. Next, so uh, this is my shirt. I don't know if you know, but Wakatakakage is the hottest sumo wrestler active right now. Shin Sekawake Wakatakakage. He's also Japanese, so he's the second best ranked Japanese sumo wrestler at this moment. He's 6 foot. I would say the best thing about him is how he dances along the ring, along the edge of the ring. So if you know, there's like a little raised up part, and he's able to just like anchor his foot, and he's so hard to knock down sometimes, and it's just so amazing to watch him just refuse to go out of the ring. I also really like him because I know a lot about his personality because I've been obsessed with him for about a year now. He's very introverted. He's very honorable. He's from Fukushima, and so he's very like a lot of like pride about his hometown, which is very cute. And I love how introverted he is. His brother's also on this list, and like whenever someone tries to talk to Wakatakakage, instead of him going to the interview, he'll just send his brother to like not deal with it. So it's really hard to get good interviews of him because he's so introverted, which I just think makes him so much cuter and more special. So as you can see, his ranking is perfection. It is infinite, and I love him. He's my favorite. And also, if you're new to sumo, he has the best name. Horseshoe, the golden boy, right? He's a cocky, smug dude. He throws people a lot. I hated him for a while because he hanked with Wakatakakage a few tournaments back. But he's starting to grow on me because I like watching him throw people. It is quite entertaining. He's really young. He's only 23. His uncle was a former Yokozuna, and so he kind of just has this air of like inevitability to him, and he seems to know it too. And I don't love that. I don't love it. I feel like he thinks he's too good to like be where he is, and I think the whole vibe is just a little off. So it's just he doesn't seem like a nice guy to me. And a lot of these sumo wrestlers seem like really nice guys, and that adds to their hotness. But his personality that I've seen seems like he's a very arrogant dude who I really wouldn't want to. I really wouldn't be very attracted to, even though it is really really hot when he just like throws people over. But the thing is, he also has this like smug attitude that I just can't stand. So at first it was a 1 out of 10, but I saw him throw someone yesterday, and so now he's a 2 out of 10 because I like watching him throw people. We have the bear, also known as Daddy Keisho. But anyway, so this is Takayasu. So Takayasu is a former Ozeki. He gets second place a lot. He's been runner up in a tournament like 6 or 7 times at this point. People really want him to win because he hasn't won yet, and he's such a sweet man. Also, he has the same birthday as my dad, so my dad likes him. He's also the hairiest sumo wrestler, so he's quite identifiable, and he's just good. You know, he's just a good sumo wrestler, a true Ozeki in terms of how he fights, and he's pretty consistent. The thing is, he does really really well, and then he gets hurt, and then he is out for a while, and then he drops rank. But right now, you know, he's a Sekiwake, and I'm hoping he wins this tournament. But the thing is, he got hurt at the end of last tournament, and everyone was saying like his mom even put out a thing saying that he was fine, he didn't get hurt. He was saying he's not hurt, but based on his performance yesterday, I don't know, and I'm a little bit worried that he's hurt again, which is really sad because he's such a talented fighter, and he just hasn't had the timing line up to have him be able to win uh, Emperor's Cup, which is he really does deserve one because he's really talented. So he gets an 8 out of 10 just because he makes my heart sing. Then we have Shodai. He was a Katabano Zeki, but now he's just a Sekewake. And he's like the most inconsistent dude ever in terms of who he can beat and who he cannot. I've heard people say that Shodai can beat anyone or lose to anyone, and that's really true. People on like Sumo Reddit call him Lord Shodai, kind of ironically, but the thing about Shodai that's so amazing is the fact that he could beat anyone. Like he's just, but he doesn't, and nobody quite understands why. So the Japanese Sumo Association really hates him because he was promoted to Ozeki and then he just started fighting terribly. And the thing about Shodai is Shodai for a while was able to hold on to Ozeki status like just barely. So he'd be an Ozeki and then he would be Kataban and then he would win just enough to not be Kataban. Then he'd be like one tournament I think he had 4 wins out of 15, which was just horrible. And no Ozeki has ever done that bad. But you know, I don't know. There's something about him that I like. He seems kind of like off kilter. Um, the joke is to become an Ozeki, he watched an anime he really liked, the season 1 of the anime, and then the season 2 was really sad or something. And so I just think he's a very realistic dude, and I root for him a lot because I think he's so cute. Kiribayama, he's a little bit of a, I would know, like a dark horse. Like I wasn't paying a lot of attention to Kiribayama except for like the last few months. He seems to have a high level of endurance, and the fighting style is a lot of times I'm just surprised. I'm just surprised he did that well. I usually am like, oh, this other guy's better than Kiribama, and then I'm wrong. He's a Komusubi, which is just under Sakewake, and I think we could see a lot from him. He's only 26. I feel like we could see him become a Sakewake. I'm not sure about Ozeki, but he's still young. He's a pretty good size. I don't know, but he's handsome. He's handsome as heck. So I don't know. Like I just Kiribama, you're cute. I don't know. That's all I gotta say about you. Katona Waka. I call him Big Baby. I call him Big Baby because he looks 12. He's 25, so he is quite young. He has very long body. He has long limbs, especially for being like 6'2". He's a blue blood like Horsharyu, but he's less of a jerk about it. I find him less bothersome. And so he's a 9 out of 10. I think he's a handsome lad. I'm 25, I think I look older than him though. But I like him, and Takayasu slapped the absolute crap out of Katonawaka to the point where like whenever they fight each other, I'm like, I think Katonawaka like flirted with his wife or something. Like there's some real animosity here. People say it's because Katonawaka has like the perfect body for sumo wrestling, partially because he's a blue blood, but just luck of the draw, and that Takakeisho kind of is jealous of that because his body's not as perfect for sumo. He's shorter and his limbs are shorter. So he just is kind of like, this is the best you got. So I don't know. I like Katonawaka. I think he's cute, but I think he's lost some spirit though. Like when I first was watching Katonawaka, it was like, wow, this kid's really really good. And now I'm like, he seems to lack the spirit. He seems to kind of cower sometimes, probably because Takakeisho slapped the absolute crap out of him a few times. But that's okay. This is Meisei. Meisei is also a Komusubi. He is pretty mid. He's 5'10". He's pretty good. He's well rounded. In a fight, Meisei could almost always win, unless the person's like really good, and if the person's really bad, you expect Meisei to win. Um, he has a supportive dad. That was the news last. 5 out of 10. He's very mid to me. I don't know. He doesn't stand out to me. There are a couple sumo wrestlers that, in terms of skill level, are all similar enough, and personality wise aren't exuberant enough that I don't have a lot of strong opinions about them, and you'll see that as I go. But to me, Mesa is pretty mid. He's fine. We have Wakamotoharu, Wakatakakage's older brother, right? He is physically a stronger and bigger person than Wakatakakage, but he himself has admitted that his spirit is not as firm as his younger brother, right? He's more extroverted. He's already married, so he's off the table, but Wakatakakage is not. And he recently gained some mass for this tournament. So I'm pretty excited about that because I think if he was just a little bit harder to move because he's so cool. So yeah, I love him. He's also wonderful. He's very sweet and he's very humble. Whenever anyone's talking about how he's doing, it's he's always like, "Oh, I never thought I would get this far," but he's so excellent. It's like, come on, dude. Like he's like the antithesis of Hoshoryu and his arrogance is Waka Motoharu and his like, "Oh, I never know." Perfect man though. Love him. We have Tobizaro. This is one of my sister's favorites. His code name is Flying Monkey. He decided to call himself that. That's how they all introduced his nickname. Is he calls himself the Flying Monkey, which I thought was hilarious the first time I heard it. But now people are calling him the Flying Monkey, so honestly points to him for coming up with his own nickname, because some of the nicknames in this list are not the nicest. And if you know, you know. But, he seems a bit flamboyant, a little bit arrogant. He seems to be slower recently. I remember earlier the Flying Monkey thing kind of made sense, because he'd be like, but now I don't see it as much, and he pulls at bad times, and I think he's a little off his game. I'll give him a 7 out of 10 because my sister thinks he's really cute. And he's fun to root for because you think, oh, maybe he'll get out of it. So, he's fine. We're in the Mega Shears now, so. Daisho, also mid. He's a really hard hitter. He, in general, is what keeps the line. Like, wherever he is, if you're a good fighter, you should be able to beat him, and if you're a bad fighter, he should beat you. And he hates that. He hates that people say that, because he wants to be a good fighter. He wants to be like top of the top. He doesn't want to be like I think it's a stepping stone to wherever. So he's a 4 out of 10. I don't know. Daisho's okay, but not great. Not my favorite. We got Mitakeumi, former Ozeki Mitakeumi. His fighting style is he hits them hard. Recently, he hurt his shoulder, and so he lost his rank of Ozeki. When I first started watching sumo, it was a tournament that Mitakeumi won. So in my mind, Mitakeumi was the best sumo wrestler. The Yokozuna was out that tournament as well on injury. So I saw Mitakeumi just be so dominant, and I was like, wow, he's really, really good. But ever since his injury, and he lies about how he's feeling to the public, it's kind of one of those things where I'm not really sure if he'll ever get back. He's 29, but he really was like a year ago. Like today, I was really, really impressed with him. And so it's kind of sad that an injury would take him down to a Megashira. I will admit that the COVID rules kept him at Ozeki a little bit longer than was probably fair. So I feel bad now. I was rooting for him to drop his rank just because I thought it was kind of cheap that he was able to stay Ozeki by like, oh, someone in his stable caught COVID and he was clearly on a losing record for that tournament. That's a whole thing. Not important anymore. But so it's like, so he used to be one of my favorites and now to me he's kind of mid. But I do feel bad for him and I do think he's a good guy. We have Tamawashi, also known as Old Man. He also chokes the crap out of people, which is called a Nadawa, where they go, and he is quite wise, and you can see it sometimes when he's fighting, where he just seems to know what's about to happen. And I think this is because at his stable, it's not a very big stable, and he fights multiple people at once. That's like how he trains because there's nobody quite at his rank. So he'll fight 2 or 3 people at once to like work on his reflexes, which is like the coolest thing I've ever heard of in my life. He's the oldest active Rikishi, and he won a tournament pretty recently, like not last tournament, or maybe the tournament before that or that, whatever. Uh, so I like him. I'm pretty sure he's married and has a kid, and he's like a loving dad or whatever. He just seems like a good guy. So I give him an 8 out of 10. He was like a bit old, but like he's cute. I like him. Look at his butterfly. I mean, come on. We have Abi, the previous winner of the tournament. So he won in November after a three-way playoff, which was very, very exciting for people to see. There hasn't been a three-way playoff in quite some time. I refer to him as the windmill of slaps. The thing about Abi is there's something about his aura where he just seems like a villain. There's just something about how he like looks and exists. I think so. I was listening to some news about sumo like a normal person, and some yokozuna believe that the pushing and thrusting technique is the most difficult because it involves rhythm, which is always what Abi says. Abi says he likes to fight with rhythm. He's tall, so he has really long arms, and he's able to just keep people away from his belt. He's adding more to his skill set. I think he's a very strong fighter. I think he could easily be an Ozeki in time. But he's hot. The way he's a villain is like more of a like a dark-haired male protagonist. You know, not like a bully. Like it's just like, oh, he's like the hot misunderstood guy. So that's why I give him a 9 out of 10. I think I don't know. He speaks to me a little bit. I just like him. And this is a spicy opinion because a lot of people did not like the fact that he won the last tournament because he was so lowly ranked and it was like not right. But I think he's a great fighter and I think he's like a dark horse kind of guy, but he's a serious man. I like him. Midori Fuji. We're now discovering the buff guys. So he's one of my favorite buff guys because he is very small. He's 5'7". I'm slightly taller than this man, right? He's 26 and he'll like move around people and he's like small, so he'll like go around people and it's really fun. He throws people too. He's buff. We have a few buff guys on this list. I know everyone thinks if you don't know anything about sumo and you made it this far, congratulations. But some of these guys are really, really buff. And like putting on weight is a defensive tactic while putting on muscle is an offensive tactic. So some of these guys are just like completely jacked. And that's always so they have a special place in my heart because it's like there are like different categories of sumo wrestlers and in my mind the smaller buff guys are like their own little category, and then there are like the big round guys, the hard hitters, like the slappers, and there are like different categories, and I like the buff guys. 8 out of 10. Midori Fuji is one of my favorite buff guys because he's the smallest. Oh, and sometimes you'll see him fight just huge dudes, and it's so fun. David and Goliath vibes. I love it so much. Nishiki Fuji, another Fuji. I don't like him as much. He wishes he was Teruno Fuji. People talk up Nishiki Fuji all the time. I don't see it. Everyone's like, "Oh, he's gonna be so good." I don't see it, but no one knows his potential yet, and I think that's exciting. But he hasn't really piqued my interest in terms of being cute. So I just give him a 4 out of 10. Pretty mid. Pretty mid. Satanumi, he seems very experienced. I know he's older, so it seems like a cop out, but he also has a similar thing to Tamawashi where he's able to kind of move in a way where you're like, oh, he knows what he's doing. But the thing is, he's also weirdly forgettable to me. And you're sitting here like, well, you're just going down the list. These are like the not famous ones. These aren't the top ones. There are fighters lower in the Banzuke that I really, really, really like and have really strong opinions about. So if you're in the middle of the Banzuke and I feel like you're kind of like meh, like Satanumi's been in every tournament I've seen, but I know very little about him or his fighting style, to be honest. And I watch every single fight religiously for a year, and I have very little to say about him. They don't talk about him that much, which is sad, but so I just give him a 2 out of 10. He doesn't spark joy. This is Ryuden. He's recently returned from Jurio. I bet on him for Chris Sumo's thing because I was so confident that he was good. He's pretty big, and so he kind of just uses his size to dominate the ring. He's quick though too, especially for his age. I really liked him when I first saw him, but now I'm kind of like he's all right. So that's all. Nishiki, fine, mid. Uh, So I was making this with my boyfriend, and he's like, imagine you spent your whole life training to be a sumo wrestler for a 25-year-old girl in America to call you mid. I think that's a fair critique. He's a better sumo wrestler than I'd ever be, but he never really stands out to. He seems nice though. That's why he gets a higher score than some of the other guys. He seems nice, but it's just I don't get any personality from him. It's just he's just kind of there. And so for me, I guess like for Hotness, personality matters a lot. Speaking of personality, we have Hokutofuji, also known as I call him Sad Man because in his pictures he's always like, and I love him. He hits so hard. All right. He also has the cutest before fight rituals where he like does this little wrist thing before he fights, and he like does these little dance. Oh my god, I die every time I see him do his little. Anyway, he's so cute. Like I would think of him as like the spirit of sumo, like the concept of like you hit hard, you try your best the whole time, and it's just he's so amazing of a person. Um, I love him so much. People call him Eeyore and all kinds of things because he looks sad. The internet calls him Eeyore. I call him Sad Man, but people call him Eeyore, and he's just so wonderful. He got Hanko'd like a tournament or two ago, and everyone lost their minds because they were like, "How dare you, Hanko Hokutofuji? He's so perfect." And so he gets a 9 out of 10. It's the only reason it's not a 10 out of 10 is because he is a little bald. Nothing against my bald bros, but Also, I can't give him the same score as uh, Wakamoto Haru. So him and Abi I view kind of similar, but they're like opposites. Like Abi's endearing because he's a little evil, and then Hokutofuji is just the form of the good. And I just so yeah, I love him. Whenever he's fighting, I'm very excited to watch because I know he's gonna hit hard. And I learn a lot about the other fighters who fight him because one of the things is people will try to like get around Hokutofuji because he's just too powerful. And it's like if a fighter goes head on with Hokutofuji, I feel so good about that because it's like that's real sumo, you know? Like they're gonna fight this man straight up. They're not gonna try to trick him. Like that I just find it beautiful and I think it gets to the real spirit of the sport. Uh Buff, but lies about his height. This man is not 6'2". He's maybe 5'8". Miguru. I can't say his name very well, clearly. 5 out of 10, very mid, but he is one of the buff boys, but he is not 6'2", I swear to God. We have Ichinojo. Oh, I forgot to put the ranking on this one. Well, I guess I'll do it live. So he is the biggest boy, very big. Um, he has a reputation to drink a little bit, and he doesn't fight with a lot of spirit because he's so big that if he falls, he's gonna hurt himself. People call him Snorlax. I half love him, half hate him. There's like this weird dichotomy with Ichinojo. He won a tournament this past year. I think I'm going to give him a 6. There was like a report that he hurt a woman while drunk, but the woman came out and said like clearly it was an accident just because he's so fucking huge. So that's all right. So he's not like a bad dude, but it's one of those things. He clearly has some problems. I think he's not adapting well to Japan in general, because he's from Mongolia. His best friend is Terunofuji, the Yokozuna, and so he's clearly having some emotional problems or life problems, and so I don't. He's not a bad guy, and I hope that his coach and everybody can help him do better. And the JSA recently suspended him for the tournament because of either his drinking problems, but they said it was because he did a COVID violation. And so I'm hoping that he's able to perk it up because I like watching him fight because he's just so big and he's just I like him and I want him to do okay. And this is our final man of today. All right, Mega Shear of the West. It's Ura. Ura is god tier. I love Ura so much. He is a fan favorite in Japan, especially. People in Japan really, really, really like Ura. And he wears a pink mawashi most of the time to represent the Japanese cherry blossoms. People make fun of him. He's been wearing it for forever though, and so he people call him a tactician. He knows moves in sumo that there's like 300 and something moves in sumo or something crazy like that, and he knows like all of them. He loves sumo. He's having more fun than everyone else. Even if he loses, he's smiling because he's thinking about what he could have done. But it's so cute. He's having such a good time, and I just love this man. Okay, so he's a 10 out of 10 because he just makes my heart sing because he is just such an excitable man and he's just having a good time and he does some of the coolest moves. If you get a moment where Ura's really fighting well, you'll see a move that hasn't been seen in 30 years and it's like, wow, that's just amazing. And the English capture, voice people on NHK are good at explaining all this stuff. And so he really is a great fighter, but he hasn't been fighting well this year. Um, and so but he's really fun to watch because you never know what he's gonna do, and like sometimes he plays like mind games on people where he'll like back up like when they're about to um, start, and it's just so funny. Like he's just funny to watch, and I really like him. So um, that's all I'm gonna do for this one. And the reason being, if I did all of them, this video would be like 2 hours long. So I'm gonna do just the top half of the Banzuke and see what people, if anybody, cares. Um, but yeah, this is my sumo presentation. This is how hot I think each of the sumo wrestlers are. Thank you so much for joining. Please leave a like, comment if you agree with me. If you don't agree with me, that's totally fine. I bet you're a Horshoyu fan and you're angry, but that's okay. Um, and let me know if I should do the bottom because some of my favorite fighters like Tochinoshin, Oho, they're not up here. So, uh, but yeah, so that's everyone. I love them all though, to be honest. I know I was mean to some of them, but that's only because you have to be. But they're all my husband though. I love this man so much. I don't know why I'm such a fangirl, and it sucks because he's like the one who cares the least about this. He cares about his fans. He's so perfect. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope if you're a sumo fan, you aren't disgraced that I'm also a sumo fan, and I hope if you're not a sumo fan that you watch because sumo is the best sport on earth. It has the tradition, it has the spirit, it's so beautiful, it's got tough men in it. Love it so much. Thank you.